is low, Kanak. If you can be little.
Greetings of the day, everyone. I am privileged to welcome you all in the third edition of Orange City Literature Festival, organized by SGR Knowledge Foundation in association with GH Raisoni University, powered by Raisoni Group of Institutions. I am Kanak Mahalle, a poet and author of the novel Liar. Delighted to be your anchor for today's session, Looking Inward, Meditating to Survive in a Changing World by Swami Purnachaitanya in conversation with Dr. Rozina Rana. Swami Purnachaitanya is an author, speaker, and spiritual guide to many around the world. He is a sought after teacher of yoga, meditation, and mantras, and an enthralling storyteller. Swami was born in the Netherlands to a Dutch father and an Indian mother, who played a central role in inculcating a keen interest in spiritual practices, cultures, and philosophies of the East in him. The defining moment in his life came at the age of 16 when he met Gurudev, Sri Ravi Shankar, the founder of Art of Living, in whom he recognized his spiritual master. After completing his university studies in Indology with a specialization in Sanskrit, he left the Netherlands and moved to the Art of Living International Center in Bengaluru, India, to master the Vedic knowledge, rituals, and recitation of mantras and Vedic hymns. He received his title Swami as an acknowledgement of his high state of consciousness and commitment for dedicating his life to serving others. Purna Chaitanya is the name given to him by his master, meaning the one whose consciousness, Chaitanya, has fully blossomed, Purna. He is currently a director of programs for the Art of Living, where he conducts a range of personal development trainings and oversees various service projects in India and Africa. It's an honor to have you with us, Mr. Swami Purnachaitanya, and this gets even more delightful as we have Dr. Rozina Rana, who will be in conversation with him as the moderator. Dr. Rozina Rana is a seasoned counselor and a life coach. Currently, she is associated with Raisoni Group of Institutions as the manager of training and development. She is also the director of a counseling center set up in Nagpur. After completing her PhD in clinical psychology, she has helped a large number of people, including 30,000 students, 5,000 teachers, 500 parents, and many working professionals to create their own runway to peace and success. In her professional legacy, she holds many awards and accolades to her credit. Some of the most prominent awards includes Outstanding HR Trainer and Psychological Counselor by Higher Education Ministry, Government of Telangana, Nation Builder Award by Rotary Club of Nagpur, and the Women Achievers Award by the Islamia Helping Society. I once again welcome you, Swamiji and ma'am. Before moving ahead, I would take a moment to acknowledge the support of Penguin Publications as their association is extremely valuable to OCLF. Now, my dear audience, you are about to experience a conversation between two very dynamic individuals, and thus, without skipping a moment, I humbly invite Dr. Rozina Rana ma'am to lead us ahead.
Thank you, Kanak, for the wonderful introduction. A very, very warm welcome to all our viewers. A very warm welcome to our Swamiji Purna Chaitanya. The name itself brings so much of peace and so much of wisdom. From Netherlands to India, going around 20 countries, very young age of 6 years, very quite young, from judo, taekwondo to yoga and meditation. And Acharya, with us, Swami Purna Chaitanya sir is with us, talking about yoga, meditation, the real yoga, the ancient mantras, the power of sound and vibration, meditation and mindfulness, full of wisdom, peace, charm, and grace. And also to tell you, full of humor as well. Because just before we started, I told Swamiji that I can see a halo there. And Swamiji said, I can't help it. So that's, when you are Swami, you don't have to be really very serious. You can also be you don't have to be looking. We are going to talk about the book Looking Inward, Meditating to Survive in a Changing World. The world is so different today. And here Swamiji is with us to help us really understand how we can live in this world of pandemic, anxiety, stress, fake news, so many things. On the page of the book, I see Swamiji with a radiant face looking upward. And that in itself is so appealing that you would not help but to pick the book on your hand and start reading it. So I'm in conversation with Swamiji. The first thing I want to know before we go to the book, the name, Purnachaitanya. Such a beautiful name. How did it happen? When did it happen? How did it make you feel?
Well, first of all, thank you both for the wonderful and kind introduction, both Rozina ji as well as Kanak. A lot of praise. I have a lot to live up to, I think, in the next 30, 40 minutes. To get right to it, basically, I never thought that it is in my destiny to become a Swami. But then, yes, I would say that even growing up in the Netherlands as a small boy, somehow this idea of living a life that is also useful to others had a great appeal on me. So I remember even when I was young, this whole idea that you just have very little belongings and you just roam around being useful to people. Yeah, somehow it was there in my mind. Even as a small child, I remember sometimes I would leave the house in the morning and I'd roam around the neighborhood during the day and come back in the evening. So yeah, definitely this idea of living like a monk was something interesting. And when I started practicing my martial arts, of course, there also is an aspect of dedication, of commitment, of yeah, serving something higher, if you take it in the true sense, not just as a fighting skill. So that had a great appeal. But then, you know, growing up in the Netherlands, where do you see such a thing? So of course, sometimes we used to watch, you know, you watch movies about kung fu masters, or we have things like the Karate Kid, you know. Nowadays, of course, Kung Fu Panda. I grew up watching Star Wars, things like that. So this idea of having a master who could be like very old, but then he has all this knowledge and skills to teach you not just how to do what you need to do, but also how to master your mind. Because in the end, if you see many of the stories, this is one of the main themes, or this is the crux, that, you know, however successful or strong you can be, unless you know how to master your mind, there is no guarantee that you will be successful. So that appeal was there. And when I was 16 in Amsterdam, I met my master, Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar ji. He had come to the Netherlands for a public program. And I had heard about it, and somehow this thought that, oh, there is a spiritual master coming from India. It sounded very exciting, very magical to me. You know, some people may be like, oh, you know, who cares? But for me, this was like a chance to really meet someone who is like that. And I went there. I attended the program, and for me, that was a turning point in the sense it was not just that I thought, oh, let me find out, but meeting him, something clicked. So that way I can say that he definitely lived up to and exceeded my expectations. So I saw someone who was also very humorous, very humble, very natural, you know, nothing artificial or aloof, very simple language, but at the same time, being able to share something very profound. So he was able to connect with people very effortlessly. At the same time, it was not superficial. So for me, that was something there. I thought, okay, yes, now I have found something I was looking for. And then after finishing my studies, I had done a few of the programs that the organization offers that he started, the Art of Living. I started learning about meditation, about yoga, about pranayamas, breathing techniques, and this practical wisdom that you can apply in your day-to-day life. But then after finishing my studies, I thought, okay, let me take out 1 or 2 years and be a little more useful to the society. So I thought, no, like some people, even some of my friends, they used to go somewhere abroad, do some volunteering. So I thought, okay, let me go to India, to the headquarters of the Art of Living, of the organization, and also dedicate 1 or 2 years of my time to serve in a bigger capacity. And it was a chance for me also to keep learning more, to go deeper into this knowledge. But then after 2 years, I'll be very honest, Rozina ji, for me it was a very easy choice. You know, sometimes people ask, you know, how come? Some of my friends also used to ask, you know, why why did you decide to move there? You are very comfortable in the Netherlands. But then for me to see that I'm able to live a life of service fully, rather than saying, okay, I may find a little time in the weekend after finishing my job and all of those things, paying my bills, to do a little something here and there. So yeah, I stayed back, and then a few years later, if we fast forward, maybe a combination of my keen interest in the Vedic tradition, the practices, as well as I guess my approach to life and the way I went about it. Whatever it may have been, who knows? But my master at some point felt that I am also worthy of this responsibility, or this title or blessing, whatever you want to call it. So he gave me the opportunity to be initiated as a Swami. And for me, it was not something that I was expecting, or I could say working towards. But then in many ways, I was anyway living a life like that already. I had few belongings. I was happily dedicating my time. So it was quite a natural transition. But till today, I feel very grateful, because I see it as a great honor to be a part of this ancient tradition, and to be able to live a life of service like this.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I think it's so inspiring. So inspiring. And if there are young people watching this, this is something that you really need to kind of replay and listen to it again. That's such a wonderful. Swamiji, I want to know, what is one thing that happens in the Art of Living center which you really enjoy and like, if you had to recommend one?
Well, just to state the reality nowadays, I'm not there most of the time. The last so many years, I have been traveling extensively. Even the last 3 years, I've spent most of my time in Africa. So that is the thing. Now, if you say I don't need anything, or I don't need much, I don't have a direct responsibility of a home or a job or a family, so my master can send me anywhere. So one day he said, why don't you go to Africa for 2-3 months? And it became 1 year. And then I came back for a bit. Then again, I went for supposedly 2 months. That again became a year. So most of the lockdown also I spent there. But then coming back here, I would say one of the things that I was so happy to find again is that here we have a beautiful campus, and like it's green, it's very peaceful. And one of the main things I think is that to live in a place where people are aware of these principles. They practice meditation every day. So even if your conversations may be the usual, even if your work may be quite standard, the atmosphere is very different. Like we go to office, you don't do anything special maybe, but then it makes a huge difference if you're sitting there amidst people who are stressed or are worked up, or who are anxious or agitated, or if you're sitting with people who are very calm and happy and enthusiastic. So I think this is something that makes all the difference, because for me it's a joy. Like, you may be doing nothing extraordinary compared to what other people may be doing, except that we do it from a space of service. It's not like everybody's meditating all day. No, we do a lot of work, but then to be able to do it in that kind of spirit makes it so much more enjoyable.
Yes, the whole atmosphere in itself kind of makes you feel so good and at peace.
Yeah. So even if a challenge comes, then there is an attitude of, okay, let's see how we can manage, rather than, oh God, another headache.
Oh my God. I mean, offices are like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So Swamiji, I read about authentic yoga. So is there something called unauthentic yoga?
Well, nowadays we have even things called bear yoga and goat yoga. So if we go by if we use the word authentic, we go by the tradition or the official scriptures. It's like you can say, okay, what is an authentic doctor? So you would say someone who has a proper medical degree, who has passed out from an acknowledged institution, who has completed all the things he needed to. Otherwise, anybody can call themselves a doctor, but it doesn't make it an authentic or a proper doctor. The same way, if you say, if we talk about recipes, an authentic idli or an authentic momo has certain ingredients or it's prepared in a certain way. That's what makes it authentic. So it doesn't mean you don't find other momos or idlis or anything in between, but it's not authentic. And people you go to places, you say, I want to have the authentic, for example, Maharashtrian poha. So you have to go to Maharashtra, or you have to find like a really proper Maharashtrian somewhere who has all the ingredients, and they can make you an authentic poha, the way it is done in Maharashtra. So in the same way, if we look at yoga, there is an ancient tradition, and there are some authoritative scriptures, like we have the Yoga Sutras of Maharishi Patanjali, there is the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. There are different scriptures available that are followed, that are considered by the tradition. And nowadays we see that there are many people also who experiment and think of something on their own, So that's not always bad, in the sense that times change, so we have to adapt, and this has been part of this ancient tradition. But then certain things, at least if you ask me, have to be maintained to be able to still call it yoga. Like now we see that it's been a gradual process from people, yoga being something very abstract, where people didn't know much about it at all. They just saw yogis doing their tapasya or their sadhana or their practices, but it was not something they have experienced. And then we see over the last 50, 60, 70 years that it has become more accessible to people. Because from what I've heard, even 50 years ago, pranayama was not something that was just taught to the general public. Even it was frowned upon sometimes by some traditional people, saying that this is not something you teach to a householder. But then people became aware of the benefits. People started teaching it. There are many teachers who have really greatly contributed. Whether it was people like Swami Vivekananda, in the West also people like Paramahansa Yogananda did a lot of work, and then of course we have our Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankarji, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi has done a lot for meditation. So these practices have become more accessible, more well-known. Research started happening. People realized that yes, it has many benefits. But then we still see that yoga, to many, is mostly associated with the physical aspect, which is the asanas or the stretches, which is just a small part of yoga, if we really look at it. And then taking that, people say, okay, so exercise is kind of the same as yoga. And then you can call any exercise yoga. And then, okay, let's invent some new exercise, and then we call it yoga. So there is nothing yogic about doing some stretches after you're drunk. So then calling it beer yoga is very nice branding, but it is definitely not authentic.
Real yoga is so different.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's talk about the book, Swamiji. Looking inward. Meditation is so important for surviving today in changing world, is what he was talking about, the stress, the anxiety. This book is going to help people refocus on their energies and the wisdom sutras that you're talking about, the 10-minute thing, because people are so much busy and into rush. So that 10-minute exercise, wisdom sutras. So if you can talk about that. And also I'm going to bundle my question into like 3-4 questions together. And today, the youth, especially if I talk about India, is a young country, right? India is a young country, and there are so many youth around, but there's a lot of stress and anxiety about the world, about career, about a number of things, about the existence itself.
True.
So how they can, in their busy schedule, how they can just take that quick time and do a meditation or maybe wisdom sutras, if you can talk about, or is it just not possible to just steal that 10 minutes and do it? That's one. And reading, again, I'll talk about reading. So first of all, youngsters are not too much into reading because they have their careers and there's so much, and Kanika is already laughing there. One is reading, plus the reading on yoga and meditation is something that probably they will not get into a lot. So how they can really benefit from this book. And also there's one more question. So third one is the changing world. When we talk about my niece says that I don't want to have children because I don't want them to come into this world which is so self-centered, which is so into itself, so much of stress. So all these things, how would you really guide our young students and young population in India to really move forward?
Okay, well, I'll try to go and address all of them. If I forget something, please remind me.
Sure.
See, first of all, if we're saying that it's difficult for them to find time to read, or they're not much into reading, or they're not into reading about yoga and meditation, like you said, the cover looks very nice, so it may tempt them to pick up the book and discover what it's about. It's not that people don't read. Of course, books may not be as common as they used to, because we have access to so much of information very easily now on our computer or even on the phone. I mean, that's why, of course, the book is available as an ebook also, because many people prefer that nowadays. It's easy to carry, it's easy to read. But then I don't agree that people don't read, because we consume a lot of information, probably even more than before. And more than anything, I think our younger generations are more and more capable and equipped of also finding that information. It's not as tedious as having to go to a library like in the earlier days and hoping you can find a book if it's available there or not. Now we have access to the internet. If you know what to search, what you're searching for, and if you know how to search, you can find almost anything.
Yes.
So that way, people, when they realize, okay, I need something, they are much more empowered to find it. And when we talk about finding the time or the importance of meditation, I think also that more and more this younger generation is actually much more aware that even though I'm learning so many things in school, I have to learn so many things, I have to study, but then there are certain things which are lacking. That's why sometimes even people say, the current education system is no good, because most of what we are learning in school will be either outdated by the time we graduate, or I'm not going to use it anyway.
Yeah.
And that is why earlier we also used to feel like that. But then the problem is, it's true that even information is changing much more rapidly. Technology is changing so quickly. Society, life is changing. And that is why I've mentioned to survive in a changing world, because especially in the last 1 or 2 years, I think almost everybody was reminded of the fact that all those things that we tend to rely on for our sense of security, our sense of stability or self-confidence have started shaking. I know so many people personally who, for example, may have lost their job during the pandemic, even though they were working for that company for a very long time and it was never expected. They thought, okay, I'm set. The same way I know people who had a flourishing business who had to close down due to the pandemic. They had never expected that. I know people who have seen their savings dry up, which they thought, okay, I'm set. Even in other countries across the world where the economy suddenly went for a toss. I know people who greatly rely on their social life, so their quick fix or their good time used to be hanging out with their friends. So even if your day is terrible, you go and spend time with your near and dear ones or some of your friends. You blow off some steam and you feel good again. It's like, okay, you can face the world. But then during the lockdown, that was not allowed. You cannot go meet people. People are miserable, So even people who never used to worry about their health suddenly got very anxious. Oh, what if I get this virus? What will happen? People may have lost near and dear ones. So this was never not a possibility. Anything can change anytime. This has always been a reality, and sometimes they would. It's just like now everything came together and people realized that, oh, my whole world has started shaking, or my sense of peace, of contentment or security has started shaking. And if we look at our life, we are also changing. Your body is changing. It doesn't look the same as it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Your preferences have changed, your likes, your goals in life, your favorite music. But then, despite all that, we still feel that I am me. So there is a part of us which has remained the same throughout, which is untouched. Whatever you may have gone through, however traumatic it is, or however unfortunate, or however exciting, whatever it may be, there is a part of us that remains the same throughout. And meditation is, I would say, consciously connecting to that, experiencing that, tapping into that, hanging out with that, So the beauty is, the more you start to experience that consciously, because unconsciously we know. That's why we say, I am me. I'm still me. But when it becomes more conscious, then what happens? That whatever happens, irrespective of that, I'm still here. And the same way, if you look at your sense of happiness or peace, it's very interesting. We think that there are certain things that make us happy. That's why we spend the whole day running around doing so many things, because you think, okay, if I have this much money, then I can buy this or go there or have that or do this. So we spend most of our time and energy and effort to achieve so many things, whether it is something material or a position, a recognition, status in society, or just, whatever it may be. But at the same time, you also notice that there is no guarantee that it makes you feel good. Like you go to a restaurant, the food is amazing, and a few weeks later you go back because you want to feel like that again. It's still good, but it doesn't make you feel the same way. In the same way, you can have the most wonderful house, everything is there, but then if you're stressed out, if you're feeling anxious, you cannot enjoy the food in front of you. That's what many people experienced. You got to know that one of your friends is in the hospital. How are you going to enjoy? So if you look a little closer, you realize that actually the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your state of mind. If you're peaceful, if you really notice, you are already happy. That's why a small child, if you know, they can be playing in the mud, they're very happy. They don't need anything. Why? Because that sense of happiness, contentment, joy, peace, that is your nature. So if the moment you become peaceful, when you are stress-free, when you are, you can say, established in your nature, then you don't need anything to be happy. And that is why sometimes also you would have noticed when you feel really good and someone asks you, why are you so happy? It becomes very difficult to pinpoint. You say, oh, I don't know, I just feel really good.
Yeah,
Or, I woke up like this.
From inside, I feel happy.
Exactly, yeah. But God forbid, if you ask someone when they're looking a little grumpy that, okay, what went wrong? Why are you feeling sad? You get the whole story. No, mere saath aise kiya, that person said this, that happened, aise kyun hua? Why God is like this, world is so terrible. So if you look at life, you need a reason to be miserable. You don't need a reason to be happy. And the beauty is that meditation is one such tool, maybe even I would say almost the tool, best, most effective, to unburden your system of all these stresses and strains, unnecessary impressions, emotions that have piled up, whatever it may be. Come back to that natural state. So then without needing much, also you can be very happy. So I'm not saying don't have all this, don't have a good life, but at least make sure that you can enjoy it, because people are doing so many things. You're spending your time, your energy, even your health, thinking that one day when I have this or reach there, I will be happy. And there is no guarantee. So in my book, I have mentioned this one line that when you're able to apply these principles, and it takes a little practice, but everybody can do it, then what happens? A beautiful shift happens in life where you start living your life not as a pursuit of happiness, but as an expression of happiness. Where you can do all the things, not hoping that it will make you happy, but you can do it happily. You can actually enjoy it, not just the destination, but the journey as well. And I think for young people nowadays, and I include myself, I'm still not too old, this is something that I think more and more people are realizing, because we have so much that is available to us at our fingertips. Let's be very honest, even if you're not rich, so much is available to experience. So if you're a little bit more aware, if you're a little bit more wise, I would say, or intelligent, you start realizing that all of this is all temporary and there is no guarantee. Or you see, okay, I've seen it all, now what? I want something new, something more. So people are realizing this. And if you're saying, okay, we are so busy, how to take out 10 minutes? It's a matter of priority. So when you realize that this is important, you will find the time. Just like you find time to eat. You don't say, oh, today I was too busy, so I didn't eat. Or I've been so busy today, I didn't take a bath. I mean, I hope not. Maybe some people here and there. But so when you realize that this is an investment I need to do, then it becomes very easy. Because honestly, there's one exercise in the book also where I've said, if you have difficulty finding the time, one day just keep making a note of what you spend your time on. And you will realize that at least maybe 1 hour goes in just checking your social media and WhatsApp and all of that. So then if you say, okay, can I make that 50 minutes instead of 1 hour? So there you have your 10 minutes. And it is my personal experience that even if you take out that half an hour, say in the morning, to do some meditation, maybe a few breathing techniques, that will give you so much more energy and clarity throughout the day that you are much more efficient also. So you get it back with interest. Because I'm sure everybody would have noticed, if your energy is a little low, the same job takes you so much more time. even just thinking about it, that yaar, I still have to do that, like you have to study for an exam or do a project or file your taxes, and you think you're really not looking forward to it. So just sitting and thinking about it, yaar, I still have to do that, it's a lot of work, it's a big headache, that itself drains so much of your energy and you're not doing anything. While if you're very you can say charged up and your mind is very calm and focused, that same thing can be done maybe even in 10-15 minutes.
That reminds me of Stephen Covey writes in his book in 7 Habits, if you have read, he talks about sharpening the saw. So you need to sharpen the axe and you'll be able to chop more and more trees in less time.
Yeah,
So,
well, let's save the trees, but yes, definitely.
yes, true. So Swamiji has really given us some beautiful ways in which we can really cope up with all the stress around us and quickly connect with ourselves and do more efficiently the work that we are doing. Lovely, very well explained, very well. It has gone straight from here till here in the heart.
Did I miss any of the questions?
Yes, one that my relative, my niece says that I don't want to bring children in this world because this world
Yes.
is so bad. I mean, it's so mean and so self-centered.
I'll be very honest. If you look at how our mind works, it has a tendency to cling to the negative. I mean, let's say we meet at a party, like this whole COVID thing is over, we can meet in person, there is another lit fest, and then it's nice, we get to reconnect. So then, we all come there and say Kanak has really dressed up very beautifully, and everybody is complimenting her. And then, after meeting 10 people who are saying, oh, your hair looks amazing, your dress is awesome, whatever it may be, then suddenly she runs into someone else. Well, let's not take one of us, and a third person. And he says, God, Kanak, what did you do with your hair? It looked so nice before. Kya hua? What made you do that? So then when she goes home, what does she remember? All those compliments or that one thing? Maybe even walking, she'll check in the window of some car or something, like, really, does it look like that? Or yes or no? So the same way, if you look at the news nowadays, yes, there are many bad things happening, but at the same time, it's also because that's what is being gathered for us. Like, they will do a lot of research all day. I mean, I used to work as a journalist back in the days, and they will bring you the most terrible things that have happened in the last 24 hours within 5 minutes. Now, this is from the whole country or the whole world. At the same time, there are so many wonderful things that are happening, so many people who are doing inspiring things, who are really making a difference in a positive way. But then if we don't learn how to unburden this mind, this nervous system, then it gets stuck, it gets covered. So I would say that the world is really not a bad place, but how are we able to I would say, keep cleaning our glasses? Because if your glasses are red, wherever you look, you will see red. And that's the thing. If you are stressed, even small things become stressful for you. The same thing that doesn't bother you otherwise becomes another headache, another burden. So I would say that the world is not a bad place. But if we feel like that, that means we are stressed, right? That we are not comfortable. If you're saying this world, I wouldn't wish this to anyone else, that means you are not happy. That means right now you feel something is not okay. And I'm not saying that everything is all nice and wonderful and don't do anything about it. No, we have to work to change many things still. But if you feel like that, that's something you need to attend to, because that means somewhere inside you are stressed, and that itself is going to take its toll on your physical health, on your mental health, on your relationships, on your work efficiency. So that's why in the book I have stressed quite a few times that these are tools that everybody should learn. Nowadays, meditation is not a luxury, it is a necessity, because the amount of impressions and information and stress we have to deal with every day, it's not something you can avoid. You cannot say, I'll run away and just live in the mountains. There also you'll get stressed. So, and it's not practical. So for me, this was one of the main things that even initially when I was in high school and then university, that really prompted me to explore this more, because it struck me that despite of so many years of studying, we have never really learned how to manage this mind. Like a teacher may tell you to focus, to concentrate. You may tell yourself, I want to focus. But it doesn't work like that. It's not so easy. Just saying that doesn't change. If you are feeling miserable, someone has lost I mean, someone had a bad experience, their boyfriend broke up with them and they feel horrible. You can keep telling them, "Arey, why do you keep thinking about it? Chhod do yaar. No, just forget about it, move on. Anyway, the guy was a lousy, a lousy guy. You know, you can do so much better." Now, that person may not feel that I want to feel miserable. They also want to get rid of it. They want to move on. They want to feel happy again. But how to do it? Just saying it doesn't change it. The more you say, "Oh, I don't want to think about this guy," you end up thinking about them more. So to learn to manage your mind is such an essential skill if you want to be effective in your work, if you want to be successful in life, if you want to be able to enjoy what is in front of you. And meditation is one of the main tools that can help us to manage this mind. Of course, I've explained in detail in the book with nice stories and exercises,
beautiful.
but this is the
And
crux.
wisdom sutras at the end of it. Wisdom sutras.
Yes,
So
yes.
you can give us one or two sutras, like say, I'm in the middle of all the chaos and all the work, which is like piling up. And in the offices, that's usually how the scene is. And people are like completely into their work and quite stressed. So what is just one or two quick things that they can do, which can make them a little relaxed?
So, I mean, of course, the wisdom sutras I have given at the end of each chapter are like a capsule or like something that sums up or the essence of some of the main principles discussed in the chapter. So the sutra, is after reading it, that sutra can really remind you, it can bring that whole thing back and allows you to implement it. But one of them is, for example, as I mentioned, that acknowledge that everything is changing. Because the first thing is that most people, they're not even ready to acknowledge what is happening right now. They're trying to, resist or question what is that. Oh, why is this happening? This shouldn't be happening. So then you're in a state of denial. Now, the moment where you're not even ready to acknowledge or accept what is happening, there is no way you're going to be able to deal with it effectively, because you're not even ready to say, okay, yeah, this is what is happening. So acknowledging that everything is changing, and at the same time connecting to or realizing, acknowledging that there is a part of you that does not change. So when you latch onto that, again, like I said, it gives great strength. Like your office may be a mess and you're stressed because what if I don't finish on time? I have to do all this. Then if you, for a moment, you remember that, oh, but anyway, at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, this day is going to end. I have been through many such days, weeks, months, years before. I'm still here. Everything is fine. Even if things go for a toss, eventually they have a way of working out, or we'll figure something out. And even if
I will survive.
Yeah, and not just that.
Happily.
Yeah, and I'll be okay. So the thing is, when we forget the bigger picture and we get too much stuck with the detail, that is when you become very uncomfortable, because you feel it is bigger than you. But when you realize that you are so much bigger, I mean, come on, we've had a whole pandemic and we're still here, So then you realize that all these things, they are such small things, and so there is no point in worrying. And when you realize that anyway, worrying doesn't make you any more effective, nor does it make it more enjoyable, then at some point you reach a point where you say, okay, anyway, there's no point in worrying. Let me see how I can attend to that. Sometimes you're able to solve it. Sometimes you may not be able to salvage everything. Okay, that is part of life, then you move on.
So can I say that accepting what is happening around you, the changes, and the second thing is going with the flow?
Not fully, because like I said, acceptance, it is an active acceptance. So you accept, but then you need to act. You cannot just say, okay, let everything happen. So again, going with the flow, in one way, yes, in the sense that you realize that everything is changing and you're not resisting that. But at the same time, again, it is not a fatalistic thing where you say you have no way to change it, or you have no choice. So it's you acknowledging what is there, and at the same time, that gives you then the peace of mind to take a proper decision and have a proper course of action. And you have a much bigger chance to actually affect change wherever needed, because you are much more collected and calm.
Yeah. So accept and participate actively into getting the bigger change happen.
If needed.
That's one way of going.
Yeah.
Lovely. I think lovely. So I'm so much enjoying this whole talk, Swamiji. And I'm sure Kanak is also, and all the viewers along with us are really thoroughly getting so much out of this hardly like it's been half an hour that we are talking. And imagine if you hold the book, and that's a treasure, like a treasure that you're going to get so much out of it. Swamiji, I want to know, was there any sad moment or period when was there any point where you were sad?
Of course. No, this is part of life. And that's why also, let's be very clear. I am not saying that you will not be sad or angry or upset. And and it's fine also sometimes to be sad or upset, or because again, like it's part of life, whether you like it or not, this is going to happen. But then the whole skill is that, okay, how quickly can you come out of it? See, however nicely you wash your clothes, when you step out of the door, they're going to get dirty sooner or later, but it's not a problem. You wash it again. But yeah, if you don't know how to wash it, then it's a problem. So how quickly can you clean it again? No, that is the whole trick. So yes, of course, I've had plenty of moments where I was sad or upset, or like even if we start from my childhood itself, it wasn't always easy. We had very little money, so sometimes, of course, you're a little sad because you cannot do something you would like to do, or get what you would like, even though all your friends can, because we don't have the money for it. Or my mother was very ill when I was very young. She had cancer. She survived, but initially we didn't know what will happen. Even she didn't.
It's tough.
Then when I was about 11 or 12, my parents divorced. So that, of course, always is never an easy thing. So like that, there are plenty of things. But then at the same time, if I look back also, these are also things that give you a lot of perspective, and it gives a lot more depth to life. Because let's be honest, just because maybe it wasn't always easy when I was young, till today, I'm very grateful to have a wonderful meal in front of me, or to be able to say that, okay, I would love to have this for dinner, and people happily prepare it. For me, it's a big wealth. In the same way, if I'm very comfortable where I'm staying, where I'm living, I really appreciate it. There are so many people who may have seen that since birth, and they don't even notice it. So I'm not saying that's bad, but it's like, it's also the difficult times that give us you can say the perspective, or that gives you the context that allows you to also appreciate things much more.
True. So you are a living example of how the life can be like ups and downs. Very young age, you experience so many things, and that kind of really brought you out still so happy, so peaceful, so much, making so much difference in people's life. So that's really, really amazing. And so Swamiji, can we kind of associate music and dance with meditation?
I would say we can associate music and dance with spirituality. So we take it a little bit bigger. Usually meditation is also counted as a spiritual practice. So sometimes people ask me, how do you define spirituality? So my master once very beautifully said, he said, spirituality is anything that uplifts the spirit. So definitely things like the yogic practices, breathing techniques, the pranayamas, meditation, all of these are very effective. But at the same time, beautiful or inspiring music, dance, anything creative also uplifts your spirit. I mean, if look at people, if you feel a little down, but there is a nice music playing, it really uplifts you. So it's not the same in the sense you can substitute that you say, okay, I only like music, so I won't meditate, because meditation has many other benefits, that I've explained in detail also in the book. But in that way, we can say they're associated or connected, that music and dance can also really help in uplifting the spirit sometimes. And that way they're complementary. I've seen many people, when they meditate regularly, they become much more happy and peaceful human beings. And when someone feels good, anyway, you notice they have much more tendency to just start singing or dancing, So
yeah, true. But meditation cannot be dance cannot be an alternate to meditation. That's very, very clear.
Yeah, because in meditation, I'll not go into the detail now, but in the book I've touched upon this as well, that real meditation is transcending the mind. So for a moment, you're not actively engaging it, you're not doing anything. So you're allowing the mind to settle and actually go back to the source, to whatever you call it, the consciousness, and that is where such a deep rest happens. And that is also where really that nervous system gets unburdened, and you feel so much more fresh. You become so much more peaceful. You're able to let go of so many stresses and strains and emotions. So, and that's also where it differs from mindfulness, for example, because nowadays also these words are usually used interchangeably. But then in mindfulness practices, we are still engaging the mind. So you're focusing the mind, you're being totally attentive or mindful, whether it is focusing on your breath or mindfully walking or eating or dancing, for example. So that is a big improvement from the scattered state we usually live in, where the mind is going all over the place. We are doing so many things, trying to manage, keep up. So then, yes, becoming mindful means your mind is much more focused. It is more calm. But then meditation is one more step beyond that, where you're able to actually transcend the mind. And it's a state of effortlessness. It is no longer a state of effort.
Beautiful. That was simply beautiful coming out from your mouth. I mean, the whole conversation itself makes us feel so at peace. And you talk about in Kali Yuga, we need to come, this yuga is of coming together, right? It's all about getting all the goodness and all the spirituality, people coming together, the satsang that you're talking about. So can you explain in this Kali Yuga why it is important to come together? And earlier yugs, it was not as much important. The importance was somewhere else. But in this Kali Yuga, it is more important to come together for chanting, for any kind of practices.
I think now I have an idea which of my Facebook live videos you're watching. so it's, of course, this is a little bit out of the scope of the book, but many people may not even be aware with the whole concept of yugas or different phases of time. But I think definitely if we look at today's world, earlier what used to happen is people, if I put it in a little bit more relatable context, people would live in their village, or maybe their town. So the world was much smaller. You do your things, and of course you have your neighbors, your friends, the people you interact with, but the interactions were limited. Not everybody had a chance to travel. You will only meet a certain number of people in your life. You're only exposed to a limited number of ideas or ideologies or change. And in today's world, we see that that's totally changed. We are influenced by people all over the world. You meet people from all over the world. So whether it is cultures, philosophies, religions, or worldviews, or goals, or what they want to achieve. And on one hand, you can say that yes, everybody would like to be independent, but the truth is also we are interdependent. You rely on so many people for your comfort. Whether it's the guy making sure that your electricity works, or the person who has baked the bread that you buy in the shop, or whatever it may be. And in today's world, where we see that, especially for those people who feel that, there are certain things which are not okay, certain things we need to fix, then the only way to do that is by coming together, because if it's just you by yourself, also you feel, even if you feel something has to change, but you feel it's too big, how can we do it? One person cannot make a difference. That's what most people feel. So many people want to contribute, but they don't know how to go about it. But then when you come together, you can move mountains. I mean, we have so many examples. Look at someone like Mahatma Gandhi. He was one person, but he didn't say, okay, I am only one person, what can I do? He said, no, let me take responsibility. And people joined together, and a whole movement grew, and they made such a difference. If we look in today's context, like from my personal experience, if we see someone like my master Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar ji, one person started out with this vision, this knowledge. Now there is a global movement of millions of people, and
so many
bringing such a big difference, whether it is in India or in South America or in Africa. So, and that is possible because people came together. Because some people said, yes, I would also like to contribute something. And then he said, okay, we have a platform, why don't you join? So that way it's not that everybody has to do service only in one way or the other, but it helps if there is already a platform, if people have come together and you can just join in, and wonderful service happens. In the same way, there are many more organizations in India itself that have been doing and are doing commendable service, getting people to come together, and then when everybody puts a little bit, it becomes a lot. So I think, yes, especially in today's day and age, there is a great strength in numbers, and that should be used for the good. Because of course sometimes it's also the, if you can move the masses. We've seen that sometimes with this, when they were talking about the elections in the United States, and of course I don't know the final conclusion, but the very idea that you can change the mass psychology just using social media and then get people to do something is of course something to look into, because it's a reality.
Yeah, true. Today Vedas is in headlines. Vedas for to India. I mean, last 2 days, he spoke about India, the two Indias that he's coming from, and there's so much controversy. So
exactly,
the tolerance levels have gone down, or maybe people are so divided on certain things. So how to really develop that tolerance level, acceptance of people. And last message from your side to our young people, all those who are watching.
So what I would like to say is that apart from whatever you are told to learn, okay, you have to do your school, your studies, all of that, but just know that there is so much more that is available out there, and that can in many ways be maybe even more enriching for your life. We have not come to this world only just to eat, sleep, work, and then become happy, sad, and then die. So, and I think most people nowadays, they know that. That's why they say, oh, I can't see myself having the same job for 40 years. Or, some people may even say, I don't want to get married right away. First, I want to see something of the world, or find out more what I would like to do, or what my talents are. So there is so much to explore. And at the same time, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like I said, of course, we have to see how to present things in a way that is relevant to our modern day and age. But like I have been exploring this ancient wisdom for the last 20 years, 25 years, and there is so much that people have figured out centuries ago, which is still so very relevant. So for all those who are curious, I would say pick up my book, check it out. It's written in a very easy manner, but at the same time, it introduces us to some very useful insights of how to manage your mind, how the mind works, how your emotions work. And it can give a lot of clarity, even if you're just struggling to figure out what I want to do with my life, where I want to go, what is really important to me, or how to deal with all this, what is going on, how can I feel comfortable, peaceful again, and be more successful. So the book is easily available, so anybody can pick it up. Of course, now we were not able to have this conversation in person. Hopefully next year, or whenever there is another festival, we can actually all be there, even all those who are viewing. It's of course always nice if afterwards you can even meet, interact with people. But anyway, we have social media, so people are most welcome.
We would have loved to have you here. Swamiji would have really loved to have you here in Nagpur.
The same goes for me. But then we have social media, so people are most welcome to drop me a message on Instagram or Twitter, wherever they are active. You can find me there as well.
And Facebook has like over 1 lakh followers, and so much of media followers, Guru Swamiji, for you. So, and so many comments. I was so filled with a lot of, completely enriched looking at all the videos that you have. And of course, I'm sure the book is going to really change your life. Even I would say the worldly success, if you are looking for worldly success or spiritual success, of course, this is going to help you, because it's a very practical way of living your life and getting connected to your own self. It's going to work like a guidebook. And I'm sure this little interaction that we have had is also going to help you with a lot of things, how you can deal with your life and how you can cope. Everybody is like bitten with stress, anxiety at some point of time. And this little thing that you will watch or the book that you'll read will definitely help you deal with the problems in life, coping with them, and really move ahead with happiness and peace. So it was wonderful talking to you, Swamiji. I'm really so happy and glad that you made time for us, and thank you so much for being here.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much, Rozina ji. Thank you, Kanak. And I wish everyone all the best. There are many more wonderful speakers as part of this festival. So all those who are watching also, definitely I would encourage you to explore more, because you never know what you stumble upon. And I would like to thank all the organizers as well for organizing this event, because it's a wonderful initiative. There are so many wonderful authors out there, people who have put a lot of time and effort into creating something that can be useful or that can be very enjoyable for others. And I mean, even when I get a time, I still love reading books. There's something about it. So Netflix and all that is nice, but once in a while, a book also can tickle your imagination in a different way. So all my love and blessings for everyone.
Yeah. Thank
and
you
I
so
look
much.
forward to meeting you in person as well one day.
Yes, we would love to really have a one-to-one interaction. Looking Inward is the book, Looking Inward, Meditation to this changing world. It is the answer to this really anxiety and depression or any kind of negative feelings that you have. So go buy it. It's available online as well. And big thanks. And Swamiji, let me tell you, even Orange City Lit Fest is also a way of making a difference in people's life. So big thank you to OCLF, and over to you, Kanak.
Thank you, ma'am. And it was such an overwhelming experience to have both of you. Thank you. So at the approaching end, I would like to thank Swamiji and Dr. Rozina Rana for joining us today. We wish we get to hear you both again and be equally enlightened as we all are today. For my dear massive audience, I am sure that after witnessing this wonderful conversation, you all are going to take an enriched version of yourself, just as I will. Thank you for joining us. And until we meet again, this is Kanak Mahalle signing off.
Raisoni Group, a vision